Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, the Bakersfield 3.
2 dead and 1 missing.
Mothers filled with uncertainty.
I want answers. It doesn't seem like I'm going to have any.
Fear.
Are you concerned about your son?
Very concerned. I'm afraid Ryan's going to die.
And grief.
Speak to Micah as though he were here.
I miss you so much. I can't live like this.
Yesterday, I sat down with 3 mothers whose stories are part of one mystery that made national news and brought them together under tragic circumstances. March 23rd, 2018, Cheryl's 35-year-old son, Micah, went missing. She says Micah believed he was in harm's way and people were trying to kill him. 2 weeks after Micah disappeared, on April 8th, 2018, Di's 38-year-old son, James, was shot and killed while he was driving in a quiet southwest Bakersfield neighborhood. Di says she knew James and Micah were friends and wondered if the 2 cases were somehow connected. So Di reached out to Micah's mother, Cheryl. Then 2 weeks after James was murdered, Baylee disappeared on April 24th, 2018. Cheryl says her son knew Baylee, so she reached out to Baylee's mother, Jane. Now, after the 3 mothers joined forces and went public, their children became known as the Bakersfield 3. Here's what happened yesterday.
It's a haunting mystery, the disappearance of Micah Holzenbake and Baylee Despot.
April 8th, James Kolstad was shot and killed, leaving a house party in southwest Bakersfield.
What makes you think that this is all connected?
They have all of their circle of acquaintances. All the same names were coming up. It can't be coincidence, can it?
Our affiliate reporter from KGET TV, Olivia Lavoie, has been covering this case.
Something that we have strongly considered is the possibility Baylee knew what happened to Micah, and that made her a liability.
I really appeal to all of you, if you have something that you think may be of interest, then call this secret witness line.
Months after Micah Holzenbake vanished, detectives are now saying his case is a homicide.
Shocking developments in the case of the Bakersfield 3. Murder charges have been filed with a bizarre twist involving the missing woman, Baylee Despot.
It was surreal when we learned Baylee was being charged with Micah's murder.
My office has filed charges against Matthew Queen and Baylee Despot.
When I found out my daughter Baylee had been charged with Micah's murder, I was in complete horror.
The charges in this case include murder, kidnapping, and torture.
Since we were together last, the police found the remains and DNA confirmed that it was Micah.
The set of remains that they found in the Kern River belonged to Micah.
Okay, and what had they found?
A portion of an arm and one hand.
Jane, what was your thought when you heard that Baylee had been charged with the murder?
I felt like maybe Cheryl might hate me because I know that's my daughter. I know she wouldn't do that unless something, happened to her to make her do something.
Do you believe that your daughter is alive?
No.
I wish we had taken Micah more seriously. And
he said to me, I think somebody wants to kill me.
Do you two blame yourself for not hearing him say somebody's trying to kill me?
I truly thought that he was having symptoms of paranoia and schizophrenia, maybe.
It sounded like something out of a movie, you thought.
He's always looking over his shoulder and saying, somebody in that car over there, are they following us? It is so dramatically different from who he was that something is going on.
Cheryl, Jana, and I are in a club that no one would want to be a member of. The detective said once he exhausts all avenues in my son James' case, then it will become a cold case.
As all of this has unfolded, Di, has this informed anything about the shooting of James?
I haven't been told anything new.
There's been some negative since I've been on Dr. Phil.
You don't know who shot your brother?
No, and if I did, I don't even think I'd let the cops have their chance.
There's lots of people that think that I know who killed my brother, James. I was sober at the time that I came on Dr. Phil. Since then, I've relapsed.
Do you know who killed your brother?
Oh, I feel I do.
Have you said it to the police?
They know.
Di, do you think all the information that's relevant has been given to the police?
I know that Ryan's information that he gave him in the very beginning, the detective confirmed, because Ryan was using that night. I believe, like you said, he doesn't know what he may know. And I think that's what's eating him up inside.
You know, you getting messed up on drugs and suffering this way is not helping anybody.
I need some closure so I can move forward.
We have 2 dead people here and 1 missing. So there are some bad elements involved here, and I think they're all intertwined. I don't think that Baylee's disappearance and Micah's death and James' shooting are independent events. I don't. I don't think they just occurred close in time. You know, Matthew Queen has been arrested. He's pled not guilty to the charges. We have a statement from Matthew Queen's attorney and Timothy Hennessy, and here's what he had to say. The dramatic developments in this case only further underscore the importance of keeping an open and critical mind regarding accusations until they have been proven to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. Queen was previously accused of killing Mr. Kolstad, and time has proven that to this, Mr. Queen is innocent. Mr. Queen was previously accused of killing Ms. Despot, and time has proven that to this, Mr. Queen is innocent. Mr. Queen is still accused of killing Mr. Holzenbach, and as time is nothing if not consistent, it again will prove that to this, Mr. Queen is innocent. These events are devastating. They are catastrophic. They are tragic, but not so because of Mr. Queen. So that is the statement of Matthew Queen's attorney, Timothy Hennessy.
That's the first one we've ever heard.
Well,
the first statement.
That's, I think,
Thank you for getting one.
New statement that he has put out. You know, I did this story originally because I wanted to push it up in the spotlight and motivate police to stay focused on it and to bring attention to it.
And you absolutely did a great job.
Well, thank you. I think sometimes bright lights can get attention to things, and
we are forever grateful.
Well, thank you. I also am a parent, and I want to help you guys in this struggle as well. And I'd like to talk to each of you about that and how you're dealing with this process and how to get unstuck in that. And I'd like to kind of do that one at a time, and I'd like to start with you guys, which we'll do right after the break.
Thank you.
Close your eyes for just a minute. I want you to call Micah into your mind. Open your eyes and speak to Micah.
Oh, Micah, I'm so sorry.
And later,
I watch you every day because I know there's some things that I could be doing different. I just don't know how.
Are you concerned about Ryan?
Very concerned. I'm afraid Ryan's going to die.
Tomorrow.
Boy, have I got a story for you.
She moved into her dad's house of hoarding.
The dogs and cats use the entire house as their litter box. They're not just in the bed. She finds bed bugs in her towel.
And this.
A dead kitten stuck in the speaker, mummified.
This is unsafe. It is a fire trap. Why are you living in this house?
That's tomorrow. Then on Monday, a classic Dr. Phil.
Let me tell you, this is a show you don't want to miss.
Innocent flirting.
How are you doing today?
I'm just smooth as a baby's back.
Or flirting with disaster.
You are like a shark cruising the beach.
Behavior that could ruin your relationship. That's Monday.
During the break, I dismissed Di and Jane for just a bit because I wanted to work for just a few minutes here with Micah's mom, Cheryl, and her husband, Lance, is here for support. Cheryl, I'm going to ask both of you, you and Lance both, to close your eyes for just a minute. I want you to call Micah into your mind. I want you to think about him. I want you to see in your mind's eye his face, his eyes, the tilt of his head. I want you to hear his voice in your head. I just want you to come into his presence. Let yourself just fully remember him completely and fully. If he had a certain scent about him, I want you to experience that and just fully come into his presence right now. The tone of his voice, the texture of his skin, the look of his eye, everything. And not yet, but in just a moment, when I tell you to open your eyes, I'm going to ask you to speak to Micah as though he were here. And I'm going to ask you to first tell him where you are emotionally in your heart right now. Open your eyes and look at the chair and speak to Micah.
Oh. Mike, I'm so sorry. And I miss you so much. I'm just shattered. I want you here with me. It's very lonely. It's very lonely in our house without you coming around and without you being around your brother, and I miss you so much. And it's very easy to want to just stay in bed and not get up.
Believe that he can hear you and tell him about the love that you feel for him right now.
I love you, Micah. I have always loved you. When you were little, and when you were in junior high and high school, and always seemed to be getting into something. As a young man, a career person, and having your own family, I loved you at every stage.
Tell him how proud you were of him.
I am so proud of you, Micah. I'm so proud of what you did for others. You taught us how to help other people grieve. You were always the first one. You always remember the birthdays and the day that they died, and you always cared for their parents. And you taught us how to do that for people. We love you, and we're so proud of you. And we know the distress that you were under, and we didn't always make the right decisions, but we did. We loved you through every minute of it.
Tell him about the guilt that you feel and ask him to forgive you, that you didn't hear him, that you didn't listen.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I just thought you were paranoid or had been drinking or You know, we knew you needed help. We just did not know how to do it. We didn't know how to make it better. And I'm so sorry.
Cheryl, is anything you need to say to him about anger? If you're upset with him, you've got to say it. You've got to clear it, or it will block the love. It'll block all of those good feelings. If you're mad at him for getting in this mess, you need to tell him right now.
Why in the world? Why in the world did you say yes when someone asked you if you knew how to put guns together? What in the world were you thinking? Why? That one decision could have changed everything. I
did change it.
Tell him we raised you better than that.
We raised you better. You knew what you were doing. And we told you in our living room to cut that crap out. To talk to police. To tell people what was going on. We know that you were working to protect us, that you thought you were. You thought you were protecting us and others and our family. We know that. But this is no way to live either.
Cheryl, you tell him, I'm making it a choice. I'm making a choice right now. I'm going to choose to either hang on to this pain or I'm going to let it go and celebrate your life. You got to make a choice.
I have to choose. I have to choose, Micah. I have to pick. I can't be this. I have to pick either just feel like this every moment or feel better and be at peace with you. I can't live like this. I won't make it. I won't make it if I stay like this.
And we'll love you every day for the rest of our lives.
We will love you every day, the rest of our lives, and the next.
Both of you close your eyes, please. I'd like for you to just take a deep breath. There's one piece left. I want you to both stand up, if you would. And Cheryl, I want you to sit down in the chair across from you. Lance, you right next to her. There you go. Now, I want you to look at that chair, and this is a little bit of a cognitive challenge, but I want you to speak to Cheryl. As Micah, what would he say to you right now, this second? And it's so important that you do this in the first person. What did he call you?
Mom.
Mom. What did he call you?
Dad.
All right, so Mom and Dad. All right, so just finish these sentences, and it's got to be in the first person. Speaking as Micah would right this split second. Mom, I want you to know.
Mom, I want you to know.
Dad. Just how much he loved you. How much he was a mama's boy.
Mom, I want you to know I loved you. I would have never brought this on you if I had known what would happen. And you have got to cut this out. You have people to take care of. You need to take care of yourself. You need to get back to work. You have things to do. There's so many people out there that need the insight that you can get.
Mom, I'm sorry for...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry for the bad decisions. I'm sorry for not taking your advice. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. It wasn't different.
And lastly, Mom, thank you for loving me.
Mom, thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving me when I was in trouble. And when I wasn't. And when I was being obnoxious and when I wasn't. Thank you for loving me.
We'll be right back. Well, I'm back with Di, and I've said I wanted to speak to these moms individually. And, you know, you guys are referred to as the Bakersfield 3, but each situation is different, and all of you are individual. And I don't want anything or anybody to get lost in the shuffle. And you know, the situation of James being killed, I think, is intertwined with all of this, but I also think it stands on its own. And
I agree.
I'm wondering how you feel about the exchange that I had with your son.
I think it was very appropriate. I watch you every day because I know there's some things that I could be doing different. I just don't know how.
Are you concerned about Ryan?
Very concerned. I'm afraid Ryan's going to die.
I feel the need to tell you, I'm seeing a meltdown in Ryan.
Yes.
And your mother's intuition is as good as any clinician's intuition. But he's high today, I can tell.
Yes.
He didn't drive out of here to go home. He drove out of here to get drugs, in my opinion. And he did. He either went to take them or score them or whatever because he was high, fresh high today. I think he knows, and I really don't believe that he is culpable even 1%. But I think he knows things that are relevant to this situation, and you said it, that's what's eating him alive. Mm-hmm. I think he's beginning to realize he knows some things that he knows, and I think he's blaming himself for not having the foresight to see this. I think part of it is, I think he was in a world he didn't need to be in. I think his brother was in a world he didn't need to be in, and I think he knows that. And because of the world he was in, he's realizing, I could have changed all of this. I didn't. I should have seen what was happening. I didn't. There were red flags going off all over the place, probably for days leading up to this. This didn't happen in a flash.
No.
Something was going on. Money was owed. Betrayals were happening. Threats were being made. Things were going on, and he is looking back now and seeing red flags and saying, I failed to see some things. And he doesn't want to talk about those things, in my opinion. And I don't think he's culpable in it. I don't think he saw it at the time, but I think looking back, he sees it now. Mm-hmm. And I think he has to sit down with police. I think he has to say, I'm not going to be concerned about getting in trouble. I'm just going to talk about this. You deserve answers. And he deserves to be unburdened, or it's going to be more than he can take. Why do you believe he hasn't gone and told him everything he knows?
He believes he told him everything he knows in the beginning. They did call him in a couple of times. He has not been called back in at all.
Do you believe what he was saying today indicates he knows more?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's you and I make this pact. You get him to the police. You get him fully debriefed, and then I will make every effort and will make available to get him into a serious dual diagnosis treatment program to get him sober. He is clearly depressed, he is clearly anxious, and he is clearly addicted. And I will make the resource available to you,
Thank you,
to him, to get him into a dual diagnosis program immediately.
Thank you.
If you get him to the police and get all of that so we can get all that information, then we'll get him into the treatment program.
I can do that.
So I'll make that resource available. You get him to the police, and then you tell us when we can get him, and we'll do it as fast as we can get it done, okay?
Okay.
Because
Thank you.
we need him off the street, away from that fentanyl, and he needs to unburden himself with what he knows so we can get some justice. Does Ryan know Matthew Queen?
Ryan does not know him.
Okay.
No.
Let's you and I stay on the case, okay?
Okay.
Fair enough?
Fair
and let's stay on Ryan, get him unburdened, and let's get him in treatment.
Thank you.
Okay, fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, good. All right. So how can all the mothers of the Bakersfield 3 continue working to find answers while not forgetting their well-being in the process? We're going to talk more about that next. Well, I've got the parents back, and you know, I keep saying I don't know how anyone feels, and you know, Jane, you're like a double whammy because you have your daughter gone, but yet you don't have an answer.
That's correct.
These are terrible answers that they have.
And I'm afraid my answer's going to be just as horrible.
And you don't have an answer. You don't have. It's like there's that 1% you're hoping something you don't know, and that just keeps you from knowing what direction to go. And I'm glad that you're working with someone, and we do pray that something happens. And you know, I've talked to these parents, and I know it gets to be an awkward dynamic, but I can tell you these parents harbor no animosity towards you whatsoever. And I know that our kids go out and make their own choices. And I do know, you know, Baylee was 20 and she was being in the presence of men in their 30s and 40s. And it's very easy to get intimidated, controlled, brainwashed, and who knows what was going on at the time. I'm not trying to make excuses for someone I don't even know, but I do understand dynamics. And I'm frankly surprised. I haven't seen all the evidence, but I'm frankly surprised without understanding the dynamic that was going on that they would charge her in absentee. I'm really surprised about that. Giving what I know about controlling and all, and I'm sorry for you for that. I'm really sorry for that.
Yeah, I think I think of every scenario that could possibly happen to her, from sex trafficking to being, somewhere,
and
laying out in the desert.
You get somebody on drugs, and you're no longer dealing with the person, you're dealing with the drugs. And drugs make people do different things. And I hate that. And I've worked with many abductees that their abductors have held them for years and would leave them unattended sometimes. And people say, well, why didn't they just walk off? Because the bars are not always iron. The psychological barriers can be as strong as metal bars. And so there are just so many unknowns. Just know I do feel pain for you, and I'm very sorry about it. And we're going to continue to try to find out what's going on here. Hey everyone, season 19 is underway.
If you never made it to Hollywood to be a part of the studio audience, well, now it doesn't matter. If you're in Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, New Jersey, or anywhere else in the world, now you can be a part of our virtual audience.
All you need is a computer and an internet connection. Go to drphil.com and click on Be Part of the Audience for more information.
That's right. Hope to see you soon.
I've talked to these folks, and I know they're not painting you with a black brush at all, and I hope you don't feel set aside.
Not from Cheryl and Di and Lance, mine can go places, but when it was first announced, I was like, I didn't want to go out in public because we were so recognizable, and I'm like, I don't want to go because those people are saying there's that Baylee murderer's mom, who goes on Dr. Phil and her daughter's horrible and blah, blah, blah. And we fought very hard to make law enforcement listen to us.
Well,
because they thought it was too crazy, and now crazy's reality. And for me, it doesn't seem like I'm going to have any answers. And I want answers. I need answers. So.
Well, that's why we're back here. We're keeping a spotlight on this to get answers for James and get answers. And we hope there's a measure of justice that comes. And and I'm very concerned about Ryan as well. And I have a really respected colleague, Dr. Dina Mannion, and she's a clinical supervisor at West Wind Recovery Center, and she will be called into action for Ryan. And they're one of the leaders. I said dual diagnosis treatment program, and they are one of the leaders in the treatment of substance abuse and the co-occurring disorders that go with it, whether it's depression, anxiety, PTSD, or whatever. And they provide so much more than just addiction treatment. And so that's who will be a partner with us in getting this done and keeping him safe and off the street. So that's who we are.
I appreciate it.
And working with that. I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to Dr. Dina Mannion. She is a cutting-edge professional at a cutting-edge facility. If you know any information, you have any tips about the disappearance of Baylee Despot, or any information about the two murders that we've been discussing here that you're seeing on the screens right now, please call 661-322-4040. If you've seen something, you know something, and don't waste people's time, but if you know something, please report it. These are crimes that are unsolved. And again, I want to say, to be clear, Matthew Queen has not been convicted of anything. He has been charged, but he has not been convicted. He has pled not guilty. He maintains his innocence. And I want to be very clear about that here today. I don't want to misrepresent that in any way. For more information about today's show, you can log on to drphil.com. We'll be talking about this on all of my social media platforms because I show up there and we discuss these things after the show ends. This is not 60 minutes and done. That's all for today. So long. Well, there's been a lot of research done about stress and pressure. And so they rank all of this stuff in terms of how much toll it takes on people in terms of like heart attacks and aging and all kinds of things. And the number one stressor is loss of a loved one. And then they break that down, and the number one loss of a loved one that is the biggest stressor is loss of a child. It's just unnatural, right? You're not supposed to bury your children. They're supposed to bury you. And they break that down further. And if it's sudden, that makes it even worse. So if you have a long illness and lose a child, that's terrible. But if you're not expecting it and they're lost in an accident or a drowning or something, then that jacks it up even higher. And then if it's violent, where someone has done something to them, then that jacks it up even higher. And so it takes a stress on your health. Divorce rate goes through the roof. Couples don't survive that kind of thing usually. It just takes the worst toll. So I think with Cheryl and Lance, they were really hurting because they didn't hear Micah when he was telling them. That's why I did with her what I did with her today. And I think that helped her today.
Absolutely.
Because if you have unfinished emotional business, and by the way, you notice that I had her tell him she was pissed off that he did what he did. Because if that's hanging out there and you don't give yourself permission to say that, then it'll block you forever and you never get past it. It needed to be said. She needed to say, what were you thinking? We raised you better than that. That needed to be said. Do you all agree that needed to be said?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad. Okay. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Dr. Phil, I just wanted to thank you for having me back on the show to raise awareness that my daughter Baylee is still missing. I'm hoping more tips will come in on the case like it did last time we were on the show. I really need to find Baylee so we can let her story be told, whether it's good or bad.
Hi, Dr. Phil.
We want to especially thank you for helping us open up a dialogue with Jane. We've never blamed her or had any animosity toward her, even after learning about the potential for Baylee's involvement. Since we've been home, but she was able to put some things into words to us. That was really good, and we appreciate that direction.
Hi, Dr. Phil. Since being on your show, I feel a bit better emotionally. An update on Ryan, he did finally go in and speak with law enforcement. He told them everything that he remembers from the night that James was murdered. Having Ryan go in one more time gives me a peace of mind that they have everything that they could possibly need from him. The amount of gratitude that I have is immeasurable, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.